Are your kids watching from home?
Yeah, I told them about it. They probably are. I'll try to sneak in a shout out.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hounds Chat. If you tuned in right at the top, I'm sure you can see the two guests that I have with me. I have head coach Bob Lilley, assistant coach Dan Visser. We are excited to get this one going and underway. But first, I just want to thank Epic Brokers tonight. Create an Epic partnership while supporting your business insurance needs. Epic delivers global risk management and employee benefit capabilities. Visit them at epicbrokers.com. That is epicbrokers.com. All right. So another week, another Hounds Chat. I'm super excited to see these two again. It has been a long time for not only me, but I'm sure all of you guys. We have assistant coach Dan Visser along with head coach Bob Lilley. Hey guys, how are you?
Good, Justin. How are you?
Hi, Justin.
Fantastic. So 2 months through quarantine. How has quarantine been going for you guys so far? What have you now that you're not coaching every single day, Bob? What have you been doing to fill the time?
Well, we don't have video or training plans to make every day, so there's certainly more time. I've been trying to get myself in some semblance of shape, so that's been going pretty well. Most of the mornings I'm trying to work out, and then we'll in the afternoon we'll try and keep up with anything that's team related. Obviously there's a lot of meetings with the league and conference calls and Zoom meetings. So we still have had to manage this and make plans throughout this. And we've obviously tried to get on social media as a group. The players have done a good job with that. Learning how to cook some things and just trying to stay busy. It's been a challenge. Miss the busy days during the season and the anxiety of all week training and trying to get ready for the test on the weekend. But we're getting closer to where players are coming back, and hopefully we'll still be able to get to play games this year.
Well, I guess I didn't read the same memo you did, because I thought everyone as a group, as a world, was collectively just going to get fatter after this end of this quarantine. We're going to all come out a little heavier. We're just going to stuff our face. But you're going the opposite direction. You're losing all the weight.
Well, we're making the players work out, and Dan's been working out with them. Look how good he looks. He's a machine, and I have him training a lot, but normally it's so hectic this time of year every week preparing that you find excuses, and I didn't really have as many excuses to want it to be productive. So it's been an opportunity for me, and hopefully my habits have gotten it to a point where even as the guys get back, I'm able to carve out that time and hopefully be able to keep my health in good shape as we go forward.
So Dan, what have you been up to during this quarantine, trying to keep yourself busy?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been extra time. Bob mentioned kind of those Zoom workouts. So there's been some work, just kind of keeping up with some of the player needs, and again, those Zoom workouts. I've got 3 young kids at home, so that keeps me busy, and my wife as well. So they're 5, 3, and 1, and none of them are in school or were even in school, would have been in school had this quarantine not happened. So they're pretty used to being at home. So I'd say more than anything, it's been an extra opportunity to spend time with them And I think at the beginning of this period, I was pretty excited to be super productive and get some projects done and things like that. And I think, I was able to do some things, but partway through also, I was like, when am I ever going to have this much time kind of just at home? And, as much as it's disappointing not to be on the field, to try to take advantage of the positives.
So have you picked up, Bob mentioned that he was cooking. Have you started, maybe cooking some meals, getting your inner chef on?
So my wife, who may be watching right now, would tell you that I'm a pretty good cook to start, or I was at the beginning of this period. She'll do more of like the planning cooking, and then I'll do more of just the what's the TV show Chopped, where there's just kind of a basket of random ingredients, and I like to exercise some creativity with that. But I've definitely cooked more, and yeah, that's something I enjoy doing. I think she's enjoyed it as well because that often falls on her shoulders, and so she's gotten to maybe relax a little bit in some different ways with me being home.
Do you have a favorite dish you would like to cook?
It's a good question. I mean, like I said, it tends to be more just like chopped. So whatever we happen to have, I will use and I will make. I think of a little bit of a staple, which this is more like a recipe, but I do like to make tacos in various forms. We've made some good chicken tacos recently, pico, and I'll throw tacos on there.
Okay, Bob, what about you? Is there any, you said you've been starting to cook a little bit more. Favorite recipe?
Yeah, well, I have a limited, my diet right now is pretty limited. So it's a lot of ground turkey and chicken and occasionally beef, a lot of vegetables. So I'm staying away from pastas and dairy and those types of things and carbs. So for me, it's limited, but I tend to flavor it up. I'm a big Tex-Mex guy, so there's a lot of stuff, getting taco seasoning and stuff like that just to give it a little bit of flavor. And I'm big on paste picante sauce. That seems to go in everything right now.
Okay. It's a little surprising for me. Both of you are from out east of Pittsburgh, Westchester for Dan and Jersey for Bob. So I'm surprised no Philly cheesesteak and not trying to stick to the pasta roots of the Italians in Jersey. So a lot of Cinco de Mayo is probably a big day for both of you. So
well, go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
Well, I was born in Jersey. I'm from central Pennsylvania, but I'm pretty familiar with the Philly area as well, and I've had my share of cheesesteaks through the years, so I'm just taking a break on those right now.
That's fair. I mean, food seems to be becoming a staple of the show. Last week I had Lucas Fernandez on, and we were talking about his dad's pizza shop, and I'm going to need to start eating before I come on here because you guys are making me starving. So speaking of, where you guys, came up, you were both played collegiate soccer. Bob, you were at George Mason, Messiah for Dan. And you guys were both, a little known fact, for the fans out there, they're both captains of their college soccer team. So as two former captains and now captains of many players, what goes into being a good captain?
Go ahead, Dan. You got more.
Yeah,
you got more national championships than I do.
I mean, I think probably if you polled coaches at any level, there's probably a higher percentage of captains, just because I do think that there's some interchangeable skills of leadership and probably even just passion for the game. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think what goes into being a good captain is first and foremost just being able to model and kind of lead by example. I'm sure everybody or a lot of people are tuning in to even this Michael Jordan documentary, and the last. I feel like Sunday nights are like my favorite 2 hours of the week right now because that documentary has been awesome. But certainly see a good example of Michael Jordan leading kind of in a really special way. He's the first guy. He's the best player. He's done it all. He's still the first guy kind of leading the sprints. I think maybe the second thing that I would add to leading by example is just being, and this has kind of come out through some different even Twitter stuff that I've seen about this documentary, which is just leading kind of very much authentically and out of your personality. And so it's not going to be for everybody to lead like Michael Jordan. You've got to lead kind of out of who you are. And there's certainly some characteristics that carry over and that are important for everybody, but I think it's important to make sure that you remain authentically you.
Yeah, Bob, what about you?
Yeah, I think Dan makes a lot of great points. And, I think it's important that, you can understand everyone and around you and what their needs are and how to push each other. But I think also when you lead, you whether it be in college as a captain or when you get into the coaching ranks, there are times that the hardest thing to do sometimes is to hold each other accountable. A lot of times players protect each other, and you want to see that support and that willingness to have each other's back. But if you're going to win, and you're going to lead, you've got to put demands on players, and sometimes you have to be willing to stand alone and be firm in your convictions. And I think you see that some with Michael Jordan, how driven he was to make the Bulls a successful team and the demands he put on himself. But it's not always easy, and it does take special attributes. And, I still think that it's very important, as Dan stated, that, you do care about your teammates and the people around you. But sometimes to lead, you got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And that to me is something that's important as well.
And speaking of captains, Kenardo Forbes, our current captain for the Riverhounds, you're going to get an opportunity to potentially see him next week, with small group training starting up soon. Is that correct, Bob?
Yeah, on Monday, we have players coming in. Some are already here, weren't able to get out of Pittsburgh, whether they're foreign players and couldn't travel. Couple of guys are in town, Kenardo and Robbie Mertz as well. But players are coming from out of town, making their way back to Pittsburgh. We were given that opportunity as of last Friday, and guys should be in by this weekend. And on Monday, we'll start with small group training. It will be a lot of individual training. I mean, they're going to be socially distanced. They're going to be temperature checked every day, symptom checks. And it's an introduction back for the teams. And this is going on league-wide. Some teams have already started. We had to wait a little bit based on Allegheny County. But we're excited that on Monday we'll see the guys and we'll have them in different small groups and stagger them. And obviously we want to do everything the right way and keep the players safe, keep the staff safe. But a lot of this first phase will be primarily fitness workouts for them, as well as some individual ball work. And there's not going to be a lot of coaching or certainly no tactical stuff until we get into the full team training. But it's a good way to kind of get the ball rolling. And I guess we're all going to kind of, as a league, monitor that and see how that progresses before we move into phase 2.
Any movement forward, progress forward is progress forward. And that's exciting for me to get to see you guys back on the field and hopefully moving in the right directions. But I have some questions from some fans for you guys, and I would love to get your answers. So the first one is from Ryan James. You guys might know him. He goes, when is RJ going to get a chance to play goalkeeper or top striker? Last 2 positions left.
This, you
Okay.
want to take? You want to
No,
take?
I'll let you answer that one.
For those of you that don't know, Ryan played for me in Rochester, and he's played everywhere, and obviously he's been a big part of my success, whether it be Rochester or here last year. And you know, he's a midfielder by trade coming out of college, but in Rochester we played him everywhere in the midfield and everywhere in the back, or certainly on the left and right. I know he's had a few situations where he's had to step in as a center back, so he is anxious to try to score some goals and show his value there. And he's got bad hands, and Canadians are not as good at basketball as U.S. guys. So the forward may happen, but I don't see the goalkeeper situation ever materializing for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a height issue too. Aren't goalkeepers a little bit taller?
Well, he's always got tape on his wrists. He's got weak wrists. I don't know if he can catch a ball.
We just lost your screen, Bob.
I don't know. There's some technical difficulties, everyone.
Yeah, I'll get it set up. Go ahead and carry on with this.
Okay, so Viz, one of the questions, you know, you mentioned that you have your kids at home, and you know they aren't old enough yet to, you know, have been in school, so the teaching stuff hasn't, you know, happened yet. But how do you find a way to entertain 3 kids for 24 hours, almost 24 hours a day, every single day?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, they're not in school. My wife does some kind of more, you know, formal type of schooling just at the house, going through kind of some almost preschool-like curriculum. But that's not a ton. Honestly, like something that I'm really thankful for is that our boys have each other, and so they spend a lot of time playing together. My wife was out at the store today, and so I was home with all 3 kids, and Josie took a nap, and the boys ended up just playing for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, building a pretty elaborate train set. So you know, they do that kind of thing. They play in the backyard. But yeah, I mean, there's some challenges with it as well, and they always want snacks, and they always want to kind of show you their setup, and that stuff's fun. And then you know, I get to play in the backyard with them as well, and played a lot of board games, played a lot of Sequence for Kids, which is an awesome game for anybody with little kids out there. Both the boys have gotten a lot better riding bikes over the last 2 months, which has been fun. Kobe on a 2-wheeler, he's lost the training wheels, and he's doing really, really well with that. And then Reed's on a pedal bike now, you know, still with training wheels. But yeah, I mean, we find ways to stay entertained, and it's a good time.
Lots of living room forts being set up, or bedroom forts being set up.
There is a big fort in my house right now, and so then some of the conversation every night is how long we can keep it up for, because at some point I'm ready for that thing to go, and they want to keep it up, and hey, can we save it? So this is one in kind of it's like a dining room. It's almost like a toy room. There's not a dining room table, and so it's a new room for a fort. They like to use their creativity for sure.
Okay, we have Coach Lilley back. And
Justin, I have to interject here. I have something I just want to show. I got for my birthday from Kobe. He did a good job. So if he's watching,
they color a lot too.
This is what Kobe. This is us beating St. Louis 1-0.
Okay.
Did a good job. St. Louis is in the green, and we have our yellow and black strip. So it was the 1-0 win late in the season, second to last game against St. Louis, that helped us win the East. So Kobe, good job. Thanks again. All right.
Got the positioning right. Shout out to Kobe. Right, that's pretty good. Got the positioning right and everything. That's important. So the next question is from another player that you guys might recognize. This one's from Momo Dabo 21. He wanted to know, what is your favorite team you've ever coached all time, for both of you?
Go ahead, Vis.
I haven't coached quite as many teams as Bob. I mean, I would say I'm going to name 2. Last season was was probably my favorite team in a lot of ways, kind of since entering the pro ranks. Some of that's, just having some success. I will always remember kind of my first team at Eastern Nazarene College. I was 25, got a head coaching job at a small D3 school, and just kind of got to pour everything into that. And that was just a lot of fun. And we were not very good. But I remember thinking, man, if I can have this much fun and not be very good, then maybe this is something I can make a living at and enjoy.
All right. Bob?
Well, I've had a lot of good teams. I don't know if I'll answer it this way. Last year, what the guys did, the last 2/3 of the season was really special. We won a championship in Rochester in 2015, and that was certainly only lost one game all year. That was also a really talented group. But, the league is better than ever. I think, obviously, the team last year, to do what they did in the Eastern Conference has never been that difficult, and how dominant they were in the back stretch of the season to win the East. And certainly maybe the best performance ever by any team I had was last year's team in that Birmingham playoff game. So, and I love any team that Dabo plays for, because Dabo's my kind of guy. He's just blue collar and is a certain toughness. So you give me Dabo, you're going to have a chance. We wish we still had him here, but he had a really great 2 years with us.
I know it's trying to make a pick between children almost with you guys with picking teams, but to grow on that, how did you guys both played collegiate soccer? What made you guys want to become a coach, and when did you guys know that you wanted to become a coach?
Yeah, I can respond. I graduated and went right into kind of a normal job, just a corporate job, working for an investment firm, and did that for about a year and a half, and really didn't like it. I think there's some different things that go into that, but didn't really enjoy it, and so was looking for something else. I had started coaching a U9 girls team in the evenings, which was, a way to just kind of stay in soccer or get back into soccer, and then also, make a little bit of extra cash. And it became kind of a highlight of my week, were those practices and those games and that type of thing. And probably 6 months into doing that, I had the opportunity to work full time for a soccer academy, and ended up quitting my desk job and getting into coaching. And then, kind of just haven't looked back since. I've just taken opportunities as they've come, and I'm certainly grateful to be where I'm at now.
Bob, what about you?
I feel like I just kind of always kind of interjected myself. In high school, I remember thinking about it. I had a really successful high school coach that, and really successful high school team that did well. And I tended to have opinions about a lot of things. And I started working with kids at the local Y at that time. In college, I actually, in the summers, would do camps. My last 2 years of college, I was actually coaching in Virginia at Robert E. Lee High School as the head coach for a JV boys program, and then an assistant for the varsity. They played in the spring. Our season was in the fall. I was able to start coaching while I was still in college, and then when I was playing in my pro career indoors for 5 years, I coached at Dickinson College, even while I was still playing. And that kind of is what really led me into taking my first pro coaching job, which, I was really fortunate. The Hershey Wildcats started in, the first year, 1997 was kind of the old A-League / USL, started in 1997. And I had a friend that I'd played with that was retired, got the GM position with the Hershey Wildcats. His name was Todd Smith, and he went on, unfortunately passed now, but had a lot of success as the GM with Hershey, and then, was the GM for the New England Revolution in MLS. But he gave me my first opportunity. I was 30 at the time, and I knew it was something I wanted to do, and kind of stumbled into a good opportunity. And then it's just been a lot of years now trying to win the next game. And, it's been a really fun ride most of the time. It's stressful a lot of the time, but I'm appreciative of all the opportunities I've had.
So who is someone you look up to in the coaching world, or who is your coaching role model? Either someone previous, maybe someone you looked up to while you were playing, or that you wanted to model your coaching after. Bob, you want to?
Yeah, for me, I tend to think globally in a lot of ways, and even, for me, it's important to establish your own identity in a lot of ways. But I know I've taken from, I had Gordon Bradley at George Mason when I went to college. Gordon Bradley, an English guy that played over here, in the initial days of pro, in the late 60s. But Gordon coached for Team America. He coached the New York Cosmos. He coached the Washington Diplomats in the old NASL. He coached Beckenbauer. He coached Pelé, and he coached Cruyff. Not many coaches would be able to count those three players. And his son transferred into Mason, and Gordon took over at George Mason in my sophomore year. And so I had 3 years with him, and I've learned things from all the coaches I had, playing indoors, outdoors, and try to, see what works for me. But I think it's important that you are your own individual, and you have your beliefs, and those are, just like kids learn and grow, but a lot of what influences them is how their parents raise them, and the people, the environments they're around will help shape that. But I think to be a successful coach, you have to have a real clear vision of what your strengths are, what you need to work on, what works best for you, and how to communicate that effectively to the players.
Okay. Dan, what about you? Your role models in the coaching world?
Yeah. I mean, without blowing too much smoke, I mean, I have legitimately learned a ton from Bob over the last 2 years. And I'll move on rather quickly because I don't want to embarrass him too much, but I do kind of maintain that he's one of the best coaches that we have in this country. And so, yeah, again, super grateful for the opportunity to just spend a lot of time kind of learning from him. And the second one that I'd say, the first one's maybe a little bit obvious. The second one is actually the last head coach who was here, Dave Brandt. He was my college coach. Really, I think you mentioned before, like how you got into coaching, why you wanted to get into coaching. I think he played a big part in that, and just wanting to, that Messiah experience was something that was so special for me, just kind of transformative and growing me from, boy to man, as the expression would go, or whatever. But I made my best friends there. Just a really awesome team culture. Won a lot of games as well. But I'd say Bob and Dave are the two biggest influences in my coaching journey thus far.
That's awesome. Both of them. And everyone here in Pittsburgh gets to reap the benefits of both of you guys as well. Who knows? Maybe there's some future coaches in the stands or on the field now. But you guys both talked about your collegiate experience and how important that was. If you're a young soccer player right now in the Pittsburgh area watching this video, what would your advice be to play at the next level, whether that is at college, professionally? What would your advice be to move your soccer game forward?
Go ahead, Vis.
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. One, I think that you've got to kind of you've got to make sure that your goals, whatever those goals are, and the loftier, you've got to make sure that your goals kind of match your habits. And so if you have really, really lofty goals, if you've got Christian Pulisic level goals, then you need to have those level habits, which is going to be spending a ton of time with the ball, watching the game, kind of just absorbing the game in tons of different contexts. And then I think you need to ask yourself, are you willing to make some of those sacrifices, whether that be, working on your fitness, working on your non-dominant foot, when maybe that's not the most fun thing to do, spending time just with the ball in the backyard instead of playing video games. I'm personally of the opinion that if you don't want to be that level player, it's not the end of the world. You just have to recognize where you want to get to. If you really want to get to a high level, you need to make sure that your habits match those goals. That's probably the biggest thing that I would say. And so then it becomes spending a lot of time with the ball, watching the game, and then the last thing I'd say, be challenging yourself in terms of the level that you play at. So, you don't necessarily need to play with your best friends. Challenge yourself and try to find a kind of the highest level with the best coaching that you can find.
I think Dan hit it spot on, and I had never heard it said that way. And, I learn a lot. He has a different perspective, and I certainly, he brings up Dave Brandt. That is a very talented coach that had tremendous success for many years, not just at Messiah winning national championships, but reinvigorating the Navy program when Navy was really struggling to get results and getting them in the tournament, producing a player like Joe Greenspan. And, so I think it's, good players have good habits, and him just saying wherever you want to go, you have to match that with your habits. And I never quite heard it that way. And, what I was going to say was, look, no one's going to take you there, and it's that simple terms from my perspective. You got to put the work in, and that is, nothing replaces the work on your own when people aren't watching. And, Anson Durant's tells a story. Vis shared a book with me that he had at home that I still haven't returned to him, on the North Carolina women's program, and Anson driving by and Mia Hamm's working out on her own and, putting in the hard yards. And I think kids sometimes have a lot of distractions now, and that's where the sacrifices that you have to make. And most of the time, there's very few players now that just make it on their gifts alone. There's too much competition. The amount of talented players in our country is growing every year. It's harder to make it to the top, and you've got to put in the hard work and make the sacrifices. And you got to be consistent, and yes, you need to be open, and hopefully you come in contact with the right people to kind of help and guide you along the way. But you have to be driven internally, and all the follow through comes. It's your responsibility as a young player to make your future what you want it to be.
Awesome. Both of you guys, that is tremendous advice, and I hope whoever's watching who has those goals, they take heed because that is tremendous from both of you. So, we're reaching the end here. And I want to ask is there anybody you guys want to shout out? Is there anybody you want to, say hi to while you guys are here?
I think we shouted out Kobe already. He got a good shout out. Hey Reed, if you're still watching, I'll give Carrie a shout out as well. So just those three. Josie has no idea what's going on. So
I just would like to say hi to. I'm glad some of our players are on the air, and say hi to all of our players that are watching. It's nice that they're interested in hearing what coaches have to say. Sometimes they tune us out, but it's nice that they're tuning in today.
Well, hopefully you'll get to see all of them when small group training starts next week. It was my pleasure. Thank you guys so much for you guys jumping on here. It was great to see you guys again. It was great to hear your voices again. You gave some great, awesome advice, and now I'm going to need to go work out and eat better because that's what you guys said. So I'm going to go do that. But before we go, again, tonight's live stream is brought to you in part by Epic Brokers. Create an epic partnership while supporting your business insurance needs. Epic delivers global risk management and employee benefit capabilities. Visit them at epicbrokers.com. That is epicbrokers.com. Bob, Dan, thank you so much again, and I will hopefully see you guys soon.
Thanks Justin.
Yep.